So you go out to your garden, you see flowers everywhere, and you start getting really excited, right? You're like, yes, it's finally happening. And then they fall off. No fruit, no vegetables, nothing. And you're just standing there like, are you kidding me? In the last video, we talked about how no flowers equals no food. But here's what people don't realize. Flowers don't automatically turn into food either. There's one more step, and this is where beginners get stuck. And that step is called pollination. And don't worry, we're not going to get super sciencey here. Let's just keep it simple because inside every flower, there's pollen, right? And for that flower to turn into food, that pollen has to move. That's it. Something has to move. That something can be bees, flies, butterflies, the wind, even you. Sometimes just you walking by your plants would be enough, a light breeze, or maybe a bird landing up a high that just sends gentle vibrations down. This is enough to make it happen, but if nothing moves that pollen, the process never finishes, and what happens is the flower dies and it falls off, and you get no food. Because you'll see flowers start showing up, you'll get excited, you think that you're doing everything right, it's working, and then you go out the next morning and they're all on the ground. And you're like, okay, what was the point of that? Because most of the time, that just means no pollination happened. Now, this part can get really confusing, so let's make it really simple. There are basically two types of plants when it comes to pollination. You have your self-pollinating plants like tomatoes, peppers. These plants have everything they need inside that one little flower. So they don't need another plant, but they still need movement. And that's why wind helps, gently shaking the plant will help, even kind of like tapping on the flowers helps. No movement at all means no pollination. Then you have cross-pollinating plants like squash, cucumbers, pumpkins. These plants are a little bit different because they have a male flower, which looks like all the other flowers, but just a bigger version. And then you have a female flower that looks like they have a tiny little fruit on the end of your flower, like whatever you're growing. So the pollen has to move from one flower to the other flower. And if that doesn't happen, that tiny little baby fruit you see on the female flower will shrivel up and fall off. And once again, no food. Now let's look at corn real quick. Corn uses wind to pollinate, and that's why we grow them in rows, right? So it needs to fall from one plant to another. So if you plant just one corn plant, it might grow, you might get corn, but definitely won't be as productive as if you planted them in rows and multiples. Let's talk about a few ways that you can help pollinate. So number one is attracting pollinators, planting things like marigold, herbs, certain kind of flowers, and trying to avoid spraying chemicals if you can, because if you kill all the bugs, then you're going to lose the pollinators too. Number two is helping pollinate. It's actually easier than you think it is for things like tomatoes and peppers. You can gently shake the plant, tap on the flowers. That alone can help a ton. When you go to hand pollinate, it sounds intimidating, but it's really not. Things like squash and cucumbers, you can use a small brush or actually use the male flower itself to gently transfer the pollen from the male plant into the female plant. And I can do a whole other video on that if you guys want. Comment down below if you want me to. But this right here is why so many people like quit gardening or get discouraged, because from your perspective, everything looks right, you're doing everything right, but there's just one more step missing and nobody explained it clearly. Now, here's the next layer. Let's say your plant is flowering and it is getting pollinated and you're still not getting much food. That's when we need to talk about stress. Because stress, your environment, and consistencies can change a lot about the way your plants produce things, and plants can struggle. If you're learning something new from this, stick around because I share real, simple homesteading education that helps you actually understand what's going on in your garden, and I will see you guys in the next one.